Oh, I am still alive, much to the regret of some people. But I've been working a lot. I just got my new health insurance, and it's like $800 more a month. So that's great. Now, if I could just find somebody to help me, some doctor that won't just push me off or tell me I look healthy enough. Oh, by the way, that's in the earlier episode. Um, I still have to write this down, otherwise I just ramble off on whatever. Uh, so I'm working 7 days a week, which I don't mind. I enjoy doing Lyft and Uber. I enjoy. I've had almost 17,000 trips in over 3.5 years, and I've heard lots of stories. Everything's in one ear and out the other, so nobody worry about it. But it's just I enjoy people being able to let their feelings out to me, knowing that I'm not a family member or somebody that they have to worry about is going to tell their friends or whatever. It's just I was a bartender before, like I'll tell you my story, but uh, like I said, I wrote this down, so uh, I am going to miss that when I do finally go blind or die, whichever comes first. We're only the doctors know, and they won't tell me. So here's an update of my health. It's been 7 months since my first eye appointment. I stopped taking the Asacol because I have 12 left, but I really don't think it's helping anything. I think when that fluid bursts out of my head down my throat, which it's still draining, so that's another thing. If I start swallowing or coughing, it's that, or sniffing. So I have 12 left of the Asacol, but it doesn't help anymore. So it cleared out the fog in my left eye, but I'm still blind in my right eye. I don't know if you want to. You can probably freeze frame that if you want and see if it's. I don't know. It's pointing out. So let me see. Yeah, clear the fog. I still got the pus in my eyeball on this side, and the fractured vision, and the going blind part. I don't know if I said, but it's at certain light levels, like dawn and dusk, where everything, even if it's people's faces, like 10 feet away, it's just a blur. I can't see anything, signs or anything. So I can still do my Ubering because everything else around it is clear, and I can see my GPS, the map, and I can still see fine to drive. So if I ever was not fine to drive, I would quit driving right away, no matter what it would do financially to me. I would not put anybody else in any harm's way. Just want everybody to know that. Uh, I get the major ring in my ears. I figure that's because my eardrums, the pressure in my head is putting pressure on my eardrums. So let me see, I think that's it. The draining. My right eye might start watering all by itself all of a sudden, so don't let that bother you. I get used to it. You'll get used to it. It's draining the extra pressure, so I figure that's good. I don't know what it is. They say it's inflammation, so I have no idea. Like I said, I can't give me a doctor to give me a straight answer about anything. The eye doctors, they just wanted to put 30,000 in my eye to clear it out and do this and that. But if it's all in my skull, it's all going to come right back into my eye, isn't it? Wouldn't you think? I think so. So why give them $30,000 if it's going to come back again? Why can't we just fix the problem, which is the vancomycin overdose, which killed all the good bacteria in my colon? And the good bacteria does help heal parts of your body and this and that. I don't care what anybody says. And we'll get to that later too. I found out if I eat a lot of jalapenos, I have 3 blockages still in my intestines. I figured and I know how they're there because it's like I said before, that you can feel like a pointed stick, and you can just feel like the food hit a certain thing and stop, and then it'll move on to the next, and you just feel it. People that do have Crohn's and stuff, they understand. I think it's probably the same thing, which is why they fake it out and say that I have Crohn's, because it's easier than saying their doctor's screwed up. So let me see. I take the jalapenos. I take a leave because that's supposed to be for inflammation, and everybody says there was inflammation in my intestines. Now it's inflammation in my head or my eyeball. They said they haven't said about my head. So I take a leave. Anybody has any type of foods or anything they know I could do to try and reduce this inflammation in my body, let me know at Giuseppe on Twitter, the A thing, then the capital D ASEPPY. And you can get me on my website, inwalksaman.yahoo.com, or Facebook. Comments on my YouTube here. As you can see, I'm doing the YouTube and the podcast at the same time. We'll see how this works. I can't stop anything because I'm not that coordinated. I do have stiff joints like I had in the very beginning, but it's not as bad. And I don't know if it's just because it's winter here in Aurora, Illinois, and I'm 60 years old, which I don't usually tell people. I say I'm 49. But we get that, and it's not as bad. So that's why I think I do have some good bacteria left in my colon. To get that to multiply is the problem. And I know what would really help me, but I have to get into that in another episode. Right now, I want to talk about a recap of the major issues. I had the MRSA infection. The woman doctor denied it existed. And then I had the vancomycin overdose. And because the doctor decided, even though my lab results were good after the first round, she wanted to do another round because she thought the first doctor was an idiot, which I kind of agree with that. But she just said goodbye after I told her I had blood in my soul. She just said goodbye. And then I had I was violently attacked by the sadistic doctor, in which state of Illinois statute is described as at least criminal sexual assault. Now, I don't know how other people read it, but I know that's at least what it is. And I'll get back into that again, too. So then after leaving Dreyer Clinic, because of all those doctors, the next doctor I had told me I was going to have to get my foot amputated because I had osteomyelitis, a bone-eating disease that makes turns your bones into like sponge and stuff like that. So it took weeks to get a second opinion, and in which that doctor said the other doctor was basically an idiot for even saying that it was in there, because there was nothing close to on that x-ray. All he did, the first doctor, was look at an x-ray and come up with this grand solution that it's osteomyelitis. And this other doctor said that basically he's an idiot because it wasn't there at all. There's no sign of the bone being turned into sponge. It was on the other side of the foot from the wound. So he said he was going to go tell the other doctor basically that he was an idiot for telling me that. Excuse me. So that's when I reported it to Blue Cross Blue Shield. And I reported all that happened. And Dreyer Clinic, now Advocate Dreyer Clinic, also knew of the sexual assault. Neither did anything to report it to the authorities or do anything to help me. Nothing. I was just told that they would investigate my complaint, but I had no right to know the outcome. So basically, they covered it up. Instead of reporting it to authorities or giving me any help, they just... So then I wrote every elected official in my district here in Illinois. And some sent me form letters, basic. You could tell they just didn't even read my complaint at all about these doctors and the fact that they are able to do this stuff. I'll show you the letter later. Some sent me form letters, but somebody in Governor Blagojevich's office sent me a letter saying they referred my complaint to the Office of Financial and Professional Regulation. Now, that's the one that's supposed to give and take away licenses to doctors and bankers and all them people, real estate people, I think. So they sent me a letter basically saying the same thing. It's like, we're going to look into your complaint we got from the state, the state of Illinois sent to them, but I have no right to know what their conclusion is going to be. So what good is it? I mean, it's just, I don't think there's an Illinois law saying the hospitals and doctors and that Office of Financial and Professional Regulation should report sexual assault cases to the authorities, but there should be. I mean, it was a plea for help. I'm sure other people have sent them pleas for help and hope to get some conclusion, some answer, but I got nothing. Yeah. If a person sends them a letter or contacts them by law, they should have to forward it to professionally trained law enforcement personnel, and then, after getting legal and support advice from these professionally trained law enforcement people, then they should have the person decide whether they want to go forward with the legal process. Now, I'm going to try and get people to contact their district officials to get that passed. And okay, so I still have a lot more doctors that I have to tell you about, but I've got to get to the other stuff. I've got to get to my story too, my life story. There was one that prescribed me a med that I just didn't think it looked right. She just didn't seem to be. She was another woman. She didn't seem to know anything of what she was doing either. I went in there. I forget which doctor was after. I'll remember later. But I went into her office, and I'm sitting there and telling her all this stuff, all the problems I have. And I said, it's been a while since I've had a colonoscopy. I was getting one like every year or something. And I told her I haven't had one in a while. So she sat there, and then she wrote in her, I told her all my pains and blockages and everything. And she sits there and she writes something on her prescription pad. And she rips it off. Then she writes another thing on her prescription pad. She rips it off. And she says, here you go. You get this filled, and we'll take the tests that you're going to do and come back and see me. And I also had pictures of my foot. I don't know if you saw some of the pictures, the bad pictures. I said, well, this is how my foot can get if it gets really bad, if I don't get any help for it right away. And she gave me the two things back, and I went to hand her the pictures. I did hand her the pictures, and she grabbed it, and she looked at it, and she said, don't ever bring me anything to put in your file again. Ever. It's like, shit. Oh, excuse my language. I couldn't believe it, So I go home, and I look at the prescriptions she gave me, and one says colonoscopy. On the prescription pad thing, it said colonoscopy. And the other one had this drug on it. I still have it in my records. And I thought, well, I better look this up. So I look it up, and it says if I took that, it would be immediate death. And it said if the person does not die immediately, he will be dead within 2 weeks. So there's another doctor that obviously I never went back to see again. But unbelievable. I mean, geez, where do they get their law licenses? But now you need to know what just happened. Okay, let me get to that. I just found out that starting last January, the statute of limitations for reporting a sexual assault were lifted by the state of Illinois. And I want to thank Governor Pritzker for that. I don't know who exactly did it. It had to be Republicans and Democrats, I would think. I don't know. I decided I'm going to file criminal charges against the doctor for the sexual assault because I just don't know who to go to exactly, if it's city or the county or the state. So I looked up online, for help for men who were sexually assaulted as adults. And I found this site called RAINN online, and it stands for Rape, Abuse, and Incest National Network. It gave me a site in my area called Mutual Ground. And it was the only one in Aurora. So it's an organization, it says, for domestic and sexual assault victims. So I read all their stuff, and it says they supply legal support and medical support for victims. And written in their philosophy, and I quote, it says they believe every person has the right to a violence-free life. Anything less is completely unacceptable in a civilized society. Excuse me. Let me get back to it. It says it is important to strive to create a community where violence is not tolerated or hidden, regardless of social station or economic situation, and that our society must hold individuals responsible for their abusive behavior and not look the other way, no matter how uncomfortable an intervention will make us feel. It says, social change is necessary in preventing future crimes. Excuse me, I have to go let my beagle Miley outside. Okay, sorry. Our society must hold individuals responsible for their abusive behavior and not look the other way, no matter how uncomfortable an intervention will make us feel. It says social change is necessary in preventing future crimes or domestic violence and sexual assault, as it is oftentimes a learned behavior that only flourishes when tolerated. The abuser perpetrates acts of control and power, and the victim has not provoked, enjoyed, or deserved, and myths to the contrary must be dispelled at all costs. It says the victim is not responsible or accountable for these crimes, and all services are provided at no charge. It also says violence can be a learned behavior, and equally important, intervention and treatment alternatives to abusive behavior this is all kind of live also can be learned. So violence can be a learned behavior, and equally important, intervention and treatment alternatives to abusive behavior also can be learned. This doctor needs intervention, which I think is incarceration and treatment in prison for what he has done to me. And who knows how many other people he has done this to. somebody's father, or elderly parents, or young children. Who knows what a sadistic man in his position of authority can do? And at the end, it says, we hold the above to be true and make a conscious effort to apply these principles to every interaction with every client so the healing may begin. So I thought, I read that and I sent them a message, I thought, well, this will work. This will be good. Somebody will help me finally. So I wrote a thing on their contact page, and I quote, I was a victim of aggravated sexual assault 18 years ago by a doctor who then humiliated me to his staff and colleagues. My story is on the podcast In Walks the Man, and I put livesin.inwalksaman.com, and it's on iHeartRadio, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and iTunes Podcast. Now that Illinois has removed the time limit on reporting sexual assault charges, I want to report the doctor and others for covering up for him. If you listen to the podcast, you will understand better the pain and humiliation that I have endured over the years. I reported this and other doctors' malpractice years ago and was told I had no right to know the outcome. And for that, I was told by a doctor I was blacklisted. I need help navigating the system to hold these people and corporations responsible. Please let me know if you can help, or if I need to go elsewhere, I will. Either way, I plan to keep telling my story so other people maybe will find the strength to report an assault right away. Thanks, David Sepulvric. So I sent that on the 2nd of March, and it's the 8th of March right now. So I have heard not one thing. I haven't got a text. I haven't got a phone call. I haven't got anything at all from them. So now you see another example of what I'm up against. Sorry, it gets me very upset. So it seems because I am reporting a doctor, that's why I can't get help from doctors or support groups, or it seems anybody at this point. I have no idea which law enforcement I should go to, but I guess I'll have to go to all of them and see if any of them will help me. I looked at the Mutual Grounds Board of Directors, and there's a couple on there from Rush Copley Hospital. So, are they going to cover for me, help me, or are they going to help a doctor that might be affiliated with them? I don't know where they get their donations, but it probably is Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Illinois. It's probably these doctors and hospitals and other stuff. It's just, again, it's a case of maybe if we ignore him, he'll go away. Right? That's the way it seems to me. But I'm not going to go away. I feel legally and morally responsible to not going away. I want to turn in this poor excuse for a man for what he did to me and maybe has done to other people. It wasn't just some simple prank. It was a vicious assault on an unsuspecting person by a man in authority. I was at the worst possible moment in my life with pain and bleeding internally, and my whole digestive system was swollen all the way to my throat, where I couldn't even eat without choking. I didn't do one thing to instigate this. He used violence and threatened me with more violent acts if I didn't let him assault me. He told me that a surgeon would have to do the same thing to me if he didn't finish doing it. Then he showed me that he didn't have to make it hurt by putting something a lot smaller and lubricated in me. And then he made a joke of it by showing the object he used to his colleagues and staff, and they all laughed while I was walking down the hall. This is not a man who should be a physician in any state. I know it took me to the point where I'm going blind and probably dying to do it, but I think it's something I'm destined to do. I understand people don't want to share my story for the same reason. They don't want to get involved. I understand Facebook is for happy people and happy things for some people. If this is upsetting you, I apologize. But just share my story with other people who may have gone through anything that I have in life and let them decide if this is the way people should be treated. There is strength in numbers. Now, this is going to be the toughest part for me. It's going to take a lot of hours to go to the separate law enforcement agencies and find out where I'm supposed to go and how I do this because I can't get any help. I have close to 10 doctors and hospitals that I have to get my records from, the complete records. And I'm already working 7 days a week to pay my bills, and it takes at least 2 days to do each episode. I'm sure it doesn't look like it. I know it looks like an amateur hour, but I'm working on it. Everything is new to me. This is emotional. Which brings me to another reason I would like to share this story, because of the extra $800 a month for insurance for probably another doctor who will ignore my pleas for help or discard me like the last primary doctor did at Advocate Dreyer. And having to take time off work, plus my efforts to get my story published, I'm going to have to ask for donations. Now, I don't want to do this, but I need help. I have a GoFundMe account under David Sepulfrick. I will put a link on my Facebook and Twitter. Otherwise, I'll lose the house and go bankrupt. But it really doesn't matter. I'm still going to do this even as the dogs and I have to live out in the car. You know, it's just something I have to do. It's made me feel a whole lot better after 18 years of keeping it inside to let it out to somebody. And I have to go let the Miley back in. Just a second. Go, hurry up. There. There's a treat. Go lay down. Oh, sorry about that. I've lived out of a car before. You'll find that out in my story. But I don't want anybody's last dollar. I don't want anybody to break their piggy bank open. I don't want pity. This isn't for pity. I want your support. I want support for my efforts and my story. So if you want to give me the cost of a beer or pretend you took me out for a night on the town, that's fine. I'll appreciate any amount that doesn't put a burden on anybody. But again, if you can't or don't want to give anything, just share my story. The more people that know about it, the more they have to change their ways. I want your donations to support my efforts to get laws changed to help protect people from violent acts performed by people who have no morals or just pure hatred. Hatred for anyone that has a smile on their face or a caring, loving heart. You know who they are. It starts out as little pranks on people that are unsuspecting because they never did anything wrong to anybody. People who, just because they are silent and not outgoing, are seen by these predators as easy targets. Ones that they're just trying to get through life the best they can. Then it gets to the point where others don't see the joke in the small pranks they do. So they get more malicious, thinking that will make people laugh with them again. That's when you start to see these people for who they actually are. You can see the hatred eating away at their souls, their pleasure in other people's pain. Hopefully, the good people that are hurt, the people with good in their heart, in their soul, move on, realizing it's the person doing it to them that will always be pitied in the end. To the hater, simple pranks aren't enough anymore. They blame everybody else for their misery. It's one thing to get somebody back for doing something to you, but it's just best to walk away from these people. You just know these people have worse lives. They must have worse lives. And they just don't deserve the satisfaction of knowing they got in your head. Don't let them know that. That makes them worse, feel worse. And I know sometimes you got to fight back, or others will think you're weak. And by the way, if it's your friends that think you're weak because you don't fight back, walk away from your friends. Just walk away from them. Don't say nothing. Just walk away. They aren't your friends. Friends stand by you. They fight with you, not stand back and wonder why you are taking bull from a bully. You'll see in my story, I always try to put other people first, especially if they have no voice of their own, out of fear or retribution. That has made me a lot of enemies over my lifetime. And I take pride in knowing that I protected people from these losers. And you'll find out from my story, I've taken a lot of abuse from bullies and such, but I did fight back when they tried to physically or mentally hurt others. Fighting people whose only pleasure in life is using fear and domination to demoralize good people. It's the only thing that makes these worthless specimens of human flesh happy. Like I said, the other reason I would appreciate your donation is because I need to get my story published or screenplay written. Not only to get the truth out there, but to support me, myself, because I'm going blind and I don't want to go on welfare or die in the gutter for something people did to me. You can't right a wrong until everybody knows what happened. And the only way these people and corporations will admit it was wrong is to get it out in the open. I just have to get it written down, and it takes time. If I have to do it alone, I will. I still have to start telling my whole story from the beginning. That'll be next, I swear. I did some crazy things, good and bad, funny and sad. A lot of different people came through my life, good and bad and indifferent. You be the judges. I understand if you don't want to send a donation until you see my progress on the issues, fighting them for you and other people with these politicians. Or if you want to wait and see if I have a good story to sell and just, say, well, I donated when he needed it for that story. I helped him get that story on TV or in the movie theaters. But I can get my story out a lot faster and tackle the issues and fight for justice a lot faster if I can devote all of my time, or at least more of my time, to do it. I don't want anybody to even think about giving me a donation if it will burden them one little bit. That's not my intention. I'm going to start trying these YouTube videos along with the podcast. So I apologize for the ugly mug. Hopefully you get used to it. I kind of have. So I'm going to start a storyboard to put all this in order. I'm going to put it on the wall, and we're going to piece this life together and show you how it all went, and how, I don't know, how it ends, I hope, but somebody else is probably going to have to finish that ending, hopefully a long time from now. So I need some advice on how to do this. Maybe it's about storyboards and other, technical stuff would be nice. So if you want to leave messages on all that stuff that I said before, I would appreciate it. I will not acknowledge any messages filled with hate or vulgarity. This is purely business. And that's it for now. So everybody take care. I'll be back, I hope, and share. Please share. Goodbye.